What question would you like me to ask of the Donald tomorrow? If, and I'm planning on that we get up close and personal with Donald J. Trump. Also, major development in the Julian Assange bombshell. Julian Assange has been promising an even more damning leak on Hillary Rodham Clinton. Now remember, a lot of people called Julian Assange's bluff not too long ago. Said, he's not really going to release anything that damaging. Until he dropped the hammer on the DNC in Debbie Wasserman Schultz. And she had to step down. And he only proved, through WikiLeaks, that the Democratic Party is internally corrupt and was working against Bernie Sanders and his campaign from the very get-go. Now he says he has even more damaging leaks. And he had scheduled an appearance tomorrow to come out theatrically, kind of in a Braveheart moment, to speak out in the public eye, where he's essentially in prison right now, a jail cell in London at the Ecuadorian embassy, to give to the world more truth. But due to heightened security concerns and information leaked, curiously, to WikiLeaks, instead of making a public appearance because he'd probably need bulletproof glass, Hillary Clinton probably have a hit on him, he's going to do it via a video link tomorrow morning Berlin time. Heat Street covered this, said after canceling a planned announcement in London, WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange is now planning to appear via video link Tuesday morning at WikiLeaks' 10th anniversary celebration in Berlin. He's a last-minute addition to the roster of festivities taking place this week in Germany. According to Jesse Rodriguez of MSNBC, I commented on this this weekend via Twitter at AMTV Media. Make sure to follow us on Twitter if you're not already. According to @WikiLeaks, Julian Assange will appear, instead of on the balcony, via video link at a Berlin press conference on Tuesday a.m. Now, of course, after canceling his planned announcement in London, WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange is now planning to appear via video link Tuesday morning at WikiLeaks' 10th anniversary celebration in Berlin, a decade that WikiLeaks and Julian Assange has been leaking out the truth to the American people. WikiLeaks used its Facebook page to confirm that Assange would speak at the event, which takes place at 3 a.m. Eastern Time. So by the time you wake up tomorrow morning, potentially the bombshell information that could finish Hillary Rotten Clinton for good could already be out to the world to see, could already be released publicly. Sources close to the event say that Assange may be planning to release some new information his organization has obtained about the U.S. Democratic Party. But we've yet to receive independent confirmation that Assange plans to dump information specifically on Hillary Clinton, although he's alluded to it. The news that Assange plans to appear remotely in Berlin comes after WikiLeaks abruptly canceled a much-anticipated announcement in London that was to be made from the balcony of London's Ecuadorian embassy, where Assange has sought sanctuary for years. Now, they've done a lot to try to discredit Julian recently, saying things like he might be losing his mind because he's, been held up in this, prison of sorts, where the U.S. is pushing to extradite him to the United States. They keep trying to discredit him, although he keeps leaking out damning information and the truth about these people and the internal corruption, not just a part of Hillary Clinton's campaign, but U.S. government and politics in general. Fox News confirms specific info forces WikiLeaks to move anticipated announcement to Berlin. Julian Assange canceled a dramatic London balcony address on Tuesday in favor of a video presentation in Berlin after WikiLeaks developed specific information and threats regarding Assange's safety. Leaked emails, Clearinghouse tweeted on Monday afternoon. Some believe that the video announcement by the WikiLeaks founder could be an October surprise geared towards the U.S. presidential elections. Supporters of GOP presidential candidate Donald Trump have said they believe that the announcement will be damaging to the candidacy of Democratic rival Hillary Clinton. WikiLeaks goes out and tweets. I recommend you follow them as well as following us at AMTV Media. They go on to say tomorrow's press conference in Berlin precedes London's speech by Assange has moved to Berlin due to specific information and, I would think, threats on Julian Assange's life. And again, this isn't the first time that Julian Assange has been threatened. Another confirming report says Wednesday, Hillary Clinton is done, reports Julian Assange's announcement on Tuesday will finish her. Kind of like the video game Mortal Kombat. I don't know if you remember that growing up. Finish him! Finish her! Hillary Clinton, done. So we are awaiting a bombshell. Roger Stone tweets Wednesday at Hillary Clinton is done. I tweeted something similar saying that she is potentially finished. There's some comments from the tweet saying, I hope so. I hope. She is the Teflon Don of politics. Tuesday, Crooked Hillary is going down exactly 1 month from the last time she went down. But this time, she is staying down. There's an interesting picture of Julian, almost like a painting or something. He's got a top hat on. He's just kind of hanging out, looking over the balcony. Again, he'd probably need bulletproof glass or something like that to make an announcement tomorrow. Because Hillary, and this was also leaked within the last 24 hours, asked a question not too long ago, why can't we just drone strike, and I'm paraphrasing a bit, this pest that keeps leaking the damning truth about the corruption in Washington, D.C., and the Democratic Party in general. It's why people like Donald Trump have been, and his supporters have been growing in numbers. The anti-establishment candidate who has no prior experience in U.S. politics at all. Hillary Clinton considered drone attack on Julian Assange report. This is courtesy of RT Russia Today. Democratic presidential candidate Hillary Clinton reportedly wanted to drone strike WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange when she was Secretary of State. So this is why she was also taking out leaders covertly through NATO, like the leader of Libya, Muammar Gaddafi, and transferring weapons of war and guns from Libya, which made up Benghazi Gate, the death of Christopher Stevens and several other Americans, and moving weapons of war and heavy artillery. Not only that, but also funding and creating ISIS from nothing, the Israeli Secret Intelligence Service, which has resulted in hundreds of thousands of people slaughtered. In addition to that, she was also asking the question while she was Secretary of State, why can't we just drone strike this pest? You know, just kind of a nuisance on her shoulder, you know, leaking out the truth about her family and the truth about American corrupt politics today. According to True Pundit, Clinton and the State Department were under pressure to silence Assange and WikiLeaks, and pressure from Obama specifically, in the months before the whistleblowing site released a massive dump of over 250,000 diplomatic cables from 1966 up to 2010. You probably remember this because it was dubbed Cablegate. Can't we just drone this guy? Clinton said. Can't we just drone Julian Assange? People thought she was joking and laughed, according to this report, until they realized that she was serious. Again, no due process, no investigation. This is just kind of like an insect to Hillary Clinton, of which she just wants to squash. UN condemns killing of at least 15 civilians in U.S. drone strike. Again, you know, these drone strikes are happening ad nauseum over and over again in places like the Middle East. Hundreds of thousands of people dead. Independent third-party reports report that close to 500,000 people have been killed, men, women, and children, innocent civilians in Syria alone, since the destabilization effort has taken effect, courtesy of Hillary Clinton, while she was Secretary of State, Barack Obama, running these covert intelligence operations in this part of the world. Now, an internal memo here released by WikiLeaks, again, follow them on Twitter as well, says, can't we, quote, just drone this guy? Clinton openly inquired, offering a simple remedy to silence Assange and smother WikiLeaks via a planned military drone strike, according to the State Department sources. After Clinton's drone suggestion, the State Department considered offering a reward to anyone who's helped secure the Australian journalist's capture and extradition to the United States. Unnamed sources reported a $10 million price tag was discussed at the meeting. Some of you probably remember that. Now, of course, Julian Assange has been making the rounds on mainstream media and was just recently interviewed by Megan Smelly, who was made famous thanks to Donald Trump. Nobody even knew who she was until Donald Trump, made some distasteful comments during the debate. Now she's famous, so she's probably going to run for politics at some point in the future, mark my words. But Julian was recently being interviewed by Megyn Kelly on his WikiLeaks interview leaking Hillary Clinton and very harmful documents to the public. The bombshell that we've been talking about here at AMTV. Take a look.
Breaking tonight with just 75 days to go until the election, a series of unflattering new revelations about Hillary Clinton and possible influence peddling have come to light. And there are new reports now from campaign insiders that Mrs. Clinton plans to, quote, run out the clock, largely ignoring these controversies until the voters go to the polls. But our next guest has other plans. He says his website, WikiLeaks, is set to publish information that will not be helpful to Mrs. Clinton, and it may force her to respond. Moments ago, we had a lengthy and fascinating conversation with Julian Assange, co-founder and editor-in-chief of WikiLeaks. He only agreed to speak to us from an undisclosed location since he is currently wanted for extradition by Sweden, and he's under investigation by the U.S. government, too, for his role in the largest leak of classified documents in U.S. history. Here is part one of that exclusive interview. Watch. Julian, thank you very much for being here. So let's start with the additional information you have regarding Hillary Clinton. When can we expect this information?
While we're working around the clock, we have received quite a lot of material, stimulated, of course, by the U.S. election process and by our major DNC revelation, which has now led to the resignation of 5 top officials in the DNC, including Debbie Wasserman-Schultz, the president, the last one late last week. So, you know, it's a complex business, what we do. We have to assess the veracity. We have a perfect 10-year record so far in never getting it wrong. We want to keep that reputation, understand how things should be formatted, what media we should be involved in, what is the best way to stage it out. Do we accumulate everything, assess it, publish it all in one batch, or do we do several batches? The approach that we've decided to take is that we do several batches.
But what, I mean, give us a general sense. I mean, are we going to see it before the November 8th election?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, in the case of the DNC leaks, for example, we pushed as fast as we could to try and get it in before the Democratic nomination conference, because obviously people have a right to understand who it is that they're nominating and what sort of process was involved. And the same is true here for the U.S. electoral process. People involved in that election have the right to understand who it is they're electing.
Now, you've seen it, right? Can you tell us how significant you believe it is? I mean, compare its significance to what we saw released by WikiLeaks in July.
Well, I don't want to scoop ourselves. We have a lot of pages of material, thousands of pages of material. So no, I have not read every single page. We're hard at work in doing that, trying to understand, etc. I don't want to give the game away, but it's a variety of different types of documents from different types of institutions that are associated with the election campaign. Some quite unexpected angles that are quite interesting. Some even entertaining.
Do you know, right now, according to the average of all polls, she's beating Donald Trump by 5.5 points nationwide. She's way ahead of him in most of the swing states, not all. Do you believe the information in your possession could be a game changer in the U.S. election?
I think it's significant. You know, it depends on how it catches fire in the public and in the media.
Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton want your guns. So protect your guns with the safeandvaultstore.com. It's the safeandvaultstore.com. Click the link below right now. We got a special promo for AMTV customers exclusively. Get 10% off in-stock gun safes, and with your purchase, get either 10% off or a free light kit. Enter promo code AMTV10 for 10% off. That's AMTV10, or a free kit to get a free lighting kit. Enter promo code LIGHTME. Promo code LIGHTME. Again, that's the safeandvaultstore.com. Special link for AMTV customers exclusively. Click the link below right now. They want your guns. So protect your guns with the Safe and Vault store. Also, Megyn Kelly asks Julian Assange specifically, why are you so interested in Seth Rich, who was shot in the back multiple times, and many people believe, although Julian Assange hasn't come out and openly says this, who knows, maybe this could be the bombshell tomorrow. This could be the proof that Seth Rich was the leaker that leaked this damning information that proved that the Democratic Party was internally corrupt at the behest of Hillary Clinton and her cronies, which resulted in his tragic death. Let's go to that clip.
And now part 2 of our exclusive interview with Julian Assange. We pick up our discussion on the fallout from WikiLeaks' release of those leaked DNC emails. Are you receiving more leaks now in the wake of what we saw, here in the U.S. election in July?
Yes, every time, of course, that we have a big publication, there's a lot of reportage, and sources see this and they go, okay, WikiLeaks works. I'll give them my stuff. So that's a good thing. Unfortunately, it means that we're drowning, having to work around the clock.
There was a lot of speculation here in the United States that perhaps Russia was behind the hack of the DNC. I know you're not giving up your source, but there was also speculation about whether your source was inside the DNC and whether it may have potentially been a man named Seth Rich who was killed. He was shot in what police initially said looked like a robbery just last month. You came out in an interview with Dutch television and mentioned Seth Rich in a discussion about whistleblowers and the need to protect them. And WikiLeaks, in fact, offered $20,000 for information leading to the arrest of Seth Rich's killer. Why are you so interested in Seth Rich's killer?
We're very interested in anything that might be a threat to alleged WikiLeaks sources. The police have offered $25,000. We have offered $20,000. We're not saying that Seth Rich's death necessarily is connected to our publications. That's something that has to be established. But if there's any question about a source of WikiLeaks being threatened, then people can be assured that this organization will go after anyone who may have been involved in some kind of attempt to coerce or possibly, in this case, kill a potential source.
Do you have any suspicions on who may have been behind his murder?
We have received a variety of information. We'll be reporting that information to the police. I don't think the information so far is enough to start pointing any direct fingers. We don't want to compromise the police investigation.
Trying to read you, Julian, and whether you, I know you don't want to reveal your source, but it certainly sounds like you're suggesting a man who leaked information to WikiLeaks was then murdered.
If there's someone who's potentially connected to our publications and that person is then murdered in suspicious circumstances, it doesn't necessarily mean that the two are connected. But it is a very serious matter of that type of allegation is very serious, and it's taken very seriously by us.
I want to ask you, because there's a big AP report today saying WikiLeaks releases the private information of innocents.
Well, it's a nonsense report. It's not by AP. It's not some big team at AP to put this together. It's by a single journalist, Raphael Seta, who has a conflict of interest. Have a look at him on Twitter. He's been campaigning against us ever since this DNC leak.
I got to ask you about the U.S. election. As you point out, you're not an American citizen. You're an Australian. You're clearly not rooting for Hillary. But are you rooting for Trump?
No. I mean, if we have good information on Trump, we publish that. If we have good information on Hillary, the Democrats, we publish that. I would like to believe that no media organization in the United States would not have published the DNC emails. But I don't think that's true, actually. I think MSNBC wouldn't have published them. I think the New York Times wouldn't have published most of them. And that's sad. There's incredible politicization in this election of the media. And it is a bit concerning, the allegations that by the Clinton campaign that everyone is a Russian agent are really disturbing. Why is that? Well, because bizarrely, Hillary Clinton, the Democrat, has positioned herself now to be the security candidate. She's powered up with the neocons responsible for the Iraq War, and she's grabbed on to this kind of neo-McCarthyist hysteria about Russia and is using that to demonize the Trump campaign. The Trump campaign has all sorts of things wrong with it, but as far as we can see, being Russian agents is not one of them. Some people have asked us, when will you release information on Donald Trump? And of course, we are very interested in all countries to reveal the truth about different candidates so people can understand. But it's really hard for us to release anything worse than what comes out of Donald Trump's mouth every second day. I mean, it's part of his charismatic appeal that he speaks off the cuff. But, you know, that's difficult for Donald Trump to overcome a lot of those things, even with a lot of great material coming out by WikiLeaks or other publications.
Right, and you don't do the hacking, you just do the releasing. And you know, there have been some leaks about our military, including one back in 2007 that was controversial. You guys released video of an Apache helicopter in Baghdad, and sure enough, the United States had killed 2 Reuters photographers, and some children were injured. And WikiLeaks, you know, we saw that thanks to video that you guys released. But the military came out later and said it doesn't show the full context, and they say RPGs were found. Ground troops leader discovered 2 RPGs, an RPG launcher, a rifle where this group had been clustered.
Look, we had a clear result. The US government had to admit in court, under oath, in 2013, that not a single person that it could find had been harmed as a result of our disclosures.
Do you need to be more careful? What say you to the charge that these releases need to be screened better by WikiLeaks if you're going to do it at all?
Well, let's backstep. So what exactly is the allegation here? The allegation is that WikiLeaks is publishing too much true information.
But private,
now,
private, confidential information.
Half of that, we agree. We publish a lot of information, and it's had a perfect record so far.
Julian Assange, the man who may hold the October surprise, or perhaps September. We'll have to wait to find out. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Mika.
So Assange goes on, and we'll re-air these full clips in their entirety. If you're not already subscribed, please do. On demand. Click the link below. Start your free 14-day trial. This isn't new news, but unless you think it's a coincidence that people like Seth Rich, who were allegedly robbed, but the robbers didn't take his watch, didn't take his wallet, didn't take anything of value, but just happened to cap him, pop, 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 multiple times in the back. You either think that's a coincidence, or you think there's some strong suggestion that he was actually the leaker that leaked the documents to WikiLeaks, that exposed the DNC, Hillary Clinton, and the internal corruption. Now, remember, all that Julian Assange has done, folks, just like people like Edward Snowden, for example, is tell the truth. But in this country, the freest land, supposedly, that there is, freedom of speech and all these things, if you tell the truth, they just ask questions. Hillary does, like, hey, can we just drone strike this guy? He's an inconvenience. Can we just get rid of him for leaking the truth? Again, these are the truth tellers. People like Chelsea Manning, a truth teller, who lives in a cage right now, a box, while Hillary Clinton walks around scot-free. Bob Beckel of Fox News even called for WikiLeaks editor Julian Assange to be assassinated not too long ago. He said he doesn't believe in the death penalty, but he does believe in illegally assassinating this truth teller in the name of Julian Assange. Let's play that clip as well.
Dead man can't leak stuff. This guy's a traitor, a treasonous, and he has broken every law of the United States. The guy ought to be, and I'm not for the death penalty, so if I'm not for the death penalty, the only one to do it, illegally shoot the son of a I say the way to deal with this is pretty simple. We got special ops forces. I mean, a dead man can't leak stuff. This guy's a traitor, a treasonous, and he has broken every law of the United States. The guy ought to be, and I'm not for the death penalty, so if I'm not for the death penalty, the only one to do it, illegally shoot the son of a
Yeah, so this is what the mainstream media and people like Hillary Clinton think of truth tellers. Just kill the son of a bitch, according to Mr. Beckel, is his name. Doesn't believe in the death penalty, but he does believe in illegal assassination of truth tellers, because God forbid the truth get out. Probably the reason Julian Assange won't be standing physically on a balcony tomorrow, because he knows there's a threat on his life. Another report released by WikiLeaks I'll be digging into, I've yet to really been able to go deep into this, courtesy of Alternet, an article titled, Inside the Shadowy PR Firm That's Lobbying for Regime Change in Syria. Really government change. They always say it's a regime, but it's really just a government. You notice how it's always the government here in the United States of America, but it's a regime in other countries, and not vice versa. It really should be called a regime here in the United States of America and governments. This is just, language, how they put this propaganda into your mind. But basically, this report, which I've taken a cursory glance, only provides more evidence the United States has been covertly destabilizing this part of the world in countries specifically like Syria with the planned ouster of a rightful sovereign leader in the name of Bashar al-Assad under the guise of public relations and a PR firm that is lobbying for this very violent change. What do you think? What will Julian Assange leak tomorrow? Could it be something new that we don't know about? Could it be potentially confirmation of Bill Clinton's African-American son, which is in bold all across the Drudge Report right now, that links Bill Clinton allegedly to a hooker that liked to snort a lot of cocaine, which there's been accusations that Bill also liked to do these kinds of things, a lady that allegedly had pleasured Bill and then ended up having a son? We'll be getting to that story in today's report. Also, we got a lot of hate mail last week saying, hey, Christopher, you're going to look like a fool when the internet shutdown stopped. Yeah, when Obama doesn't hand off the internet, ICANN, domain names, registrations, and all these things to totalitarian governments around the world. Well, you know what actually happened this weekend? It was handed off. It wasn't stopped. According to the reports I'm reading and the investigation that I've done, Ted Cruz failed. And so did we. Because people didn't take it seriously. Like I said, I got a lot of hate mail, but people didn't take it seriously. The U.S. cuts cord on internet oversight. So as far as I know, this has actually happened. This is very, very scary. But over the weekend, Obama has handed off the internet and U.S. sovereign control of what he calls the wild, wild west. And not a peep from the mainstream media. I tweeted this over the weekend. Not a freaking peep. The media is silent. In fact, if you search internet shutdown, you only get one or two reports because the media is silencing it. They aren't talking about it. Unless I know something different, which again, I've been digging into this, and I don't. The internet has been handed off. This is a very, very serious event. The New World Order celebrates internet handoff October 1st. Reported on this extensively last week. A tiny branch of the U.S. Commerce Department is preparing, but this has already happened now, to hand over control of the Internet's address book, the highest level of the domain naming system, or DNS, to the Internet Corp for Signed Names and Numbers, also known as ICANN, effective October 1st. The Los Angeles-based international nonprofit operates the database for domain names such as .com and .net and their corresponding numeric addresses that allow computers to connect. The U.S. Commerce Department currently oversees the Internet's management, largely because it was invented in the United States. Well, not anymore. Now North Korea has an equal say. Now Communist China, formerly the Communist nation of China, has an equal say. The contract with ICANN will lapse on October 1st. Now, of course, the too big to fail tech companies are all pushing for this, right? The monopolies that own Washington, D.C. today, including technical experts, academics, have said that the transition is overdue and necessary to keep the internet open. Well, we know there's no truth in that at all. It's to keep it closed, to keep it controlled, so companies like Facebook and others can control the narrative. It has nothing to do with keeping it open at all. Barack Obama just told us a couple days ago that the internet is a wild, wild west, and they don't like it that way. Visit our sponsor, MTM Case Guard, right now at ammoboxes.com. That's ammoboxes.com. Manufacturers of ammo boxes, gun cases, rifle gun care, gun cleaning, and firearm maintenance centers and handgun cases. Check out their handgun mag can, tactical mag can, multi-mag can, and AK-47 mag cans. So many mag cans, so little time. The handgun mag can holds 10 double-stack handgun magazines. Tactical mag can, 15 magazines, 10, 20, or 30 rounds. Multi-mag can holds 10 double-stack handgun mags and 10 30-round AR-15 mags. Water-resistant O-ring seal, padlock tab. Ammo and magazines not included. MTM Case Guard is family-owned and operated since 1968, and all ammo boxes made in the good old USA. Innovative products built to last. Visit MTMCaseGuard.com right now for their dealer locator and AmmoBoxes.com for the retail store. Available in sporting goods stores and gun shops near you. Click the link below right now. Delaying the transition of the multi-stakeholder global community may also weaken U.S. credibility in future international negotiations at the United Nations and elsewhere about internet standards and security, thus empowering countries like Russia and China, experts have said. So unless you know something differently, and I don't because the media has been completely silent on this and we've obviously failed here, the internet has officially been handed off. Done. So is Hillary Clinton finished? We'll see. Is the internet finished? Maybe. Because again, the American public and the people around the world have not been taking this seriously. Kathleen Willey says new Clinton woman to step forward. A woman is expected to step forward and tell her story about experiences with Bill Clinton in Arkansas's. Kathleen Willey announced on her Facebook page Sunday night. The woman was an Arkansas TV reporter and is expected to tell radio host Aaron Klein her story Sunday night. This is a developing story, so maybe this has already hit the wires. Willey is a former White House aide who in 1998 claimed on 60 Minutes that Bill Clinton had sexually assaulted her on November 29, 1993, during his first term as president. Now, there was an update to this story. This was via the Daily Caller that says the woman in question did not appear on Klein's radio show Sunday night, but will appear next week. So she hasn't appeared yet on Klein's show. Willey said in a Facebook post update. Now, we did a report on this over the weekend, really talking about the 16, 17 women that we know about that have accused Bill Clinton of everything from, sexual assault to rape. I mean, to all these things. These are just the women that we know about, by the way. I encourage you to watch the video. It's probably far too controversial for most people to consider seriously. I go on to say that you're mentally ill if you vote for Hillary Clinton, especially after watching the video. And the 16, 17 odd women that have accused Bill Clinton of being a sexual predator. All the women breaking down on camera, crying as he forced himself on these innocent victims, while Hillary Clinton helped him cover up these kinds of things and helped to discredit these types of women. Appalling. New York Times, the bought and paid for mainstream media, risks lawsuits and legal trouble over the weekend by publishing Donald Trump's tax return. New York Times executive editor said during a visit to Harvard in September that he would risk jail to publish Donald Trump's tax returns. He made good on his word Saturday night when the Times published Trump tax documents from 1995, which showed the Republican presidential nominee claimed losses of $916 million that year, which allowed him to avoid federal taxation, is the allegation for, maybe a couple decades or something like that. But what's really interesting about this? Oh, yeah, very convenient timing. And also illegal, by the way, is that Hillary Clinton actually did the same thing. She's not as wealthy as Donald Trump, but she uses the same tax loopholes. Again, as Donald Trump said during the last presidential debate, it just makes him smart. Again, there's nothing wrong with not paying taxes. It just makes you smart. He can pay these attorneys and, tax experts and accountants and CPAs what they need. It's really just welfare for them, right? Welfare for CPAs, welfare for tax attorneys, et cetera, to prevent him from paying taxes. I mean, Fortune 100 companies like General Electric, for example, have been famous in the past for avoiding taxation. It just makes them smart. Well, they tax everybody else who can't afford the high-powered attorneys, et cetera. Donald Trump's presidential campaign is accusing the New York Times of participating in illegal behavior after the newspaper published some of his tax records on Saturday night. The only news here is that more than the 20-year-old alleged tax document was illegally obtained, a further demonstration that the New York Times, like establishment media in general, is an extension of the Clinton campaign, companies like the Clinton News Network, New York Times, etc., the Democratic Party and their global special interests, the campaign said in a statement. On Saturday evening, the New York Times has recently endorsed Hillary Clinton, just like the Arizona Republic has endorsed Hillary Clinton when they typically endorse Republican candidates, and they've been bleeding customers and subscribers since, and there's actually even been death threats. I mean, this is absolutely amazing. So the New York Times, which endorses Hillary Clinton, releases illegally Donald Trump's tax records, which, by the way, is illegal. It could send these people into prison. But we know that they won't because Hillary Clinton owns the mainstream media, which owns her, which owns the corporate interests that owns America today. And that's the situation that we live. Bought and paid for. Again, endorsing Hillary Clinton. But it's interesting, isn't it? Because Clinton campaign admits Hillary used the same tax avoidance scheme, according to Zero Hedge, as Trump. Well, this is a little awkward. With the leaked 1995 Trump tax returns scandal focused on the billionaire's huge net operating loss and how it might have legally enabled him to pay no taxes for years, we now discover none other than Hillary Rodham Clinton utilized a $700,000 loss herself to avoid paying some taxes in 2015. She did the exact same thing. The Clinton campaign was quick to jump on the leaked Trump tax filing, with Robbie, one of her campaign people, tweeting, Trump apparently got to avoid paying taxes for nearly 2 decades, while tens of millions of working families paid theirs. While Hillary Clinton did just the same thing, up to $700,000. Again, these are the financial loopholes, and should be non-issues because they happen all the time, of the elite in this country, whether or not you're a Republican or a Democrat. Not only did Donald Trump take advantage of it, but so did Hillary Clinton. But because people only believe the mainstream media, the New York Times and the Clinton News Network, they'll never hear the story or the evidence and the hardcore facts that Hillary Clinton has done the same thing with her tax returns. Because again, the mainstream media has the guise of authority. Unless they hear it from Anderson Cooper or Don Lemon, they just won't believe it. Or Megyn Kelly, Mrs. Smelly, they just won't believe it. Supreme Court to begin new term shorthanded as its ideological balance hinges on fall vote. A lot of people talking about this, what makes this election so critical is the transference of Supreme Court officials, which historically has been 9, but now we're moving to 8. And the loss, which I think was a conspiracy of Antonin Scalia, by the way, who died, who was really just the last line in the sand on gun control issues and these kinds of things. He was, a conservative Supreme Court justice. Well, all of this is balancing on the hinges of who becomes the next president of the United States. Now, Barack Obama, I believe, has nominated Merrick Garland, who I think is somewhat moderate. The Republicans in the Senate especially are refusing to confirm this until potentially Donald Trump is elected or Hillary, and then, allow that process to continue. But I wanted to bring this up today just to put it out there that we have a lot depending on the election result in November. And this could potentially affect America and her freedoms for decades that far outlast presidencies, the presidency potentially of Hillary Clinton and or Donald Trump. Another reason I think it's extremely important that we support the Donald, the Don. Also in poppy culture, Kim Kardashian, you're probably going, Christopher, why are you going in this direction? There's a reason for it, so bear with me here, is robbed at gunpoint with $10 million of jewelry stolen. In fact, her rapper husband, Kanye West, as they refer to the both of them as Kimye, had to leave a stage, I think it was in New York City, abruptly due to this issue. Kim, who was in France, where there's been a series of attacks, like the Paris attacks, Charlie Hebdo, etc. Again, the cesspool that makes up Paris because of the New World Order paradigm of allowing all these migrants to come into these places just to terrorize others. Just another countless example. And a couple of questions were first, I thought, arise, at least in my mind when I read this story last night. They didn't say that anybody was robbed. It was just that masked gunmen came into her hotel and somehow bypassed security and didn't take anything. They maybe took something but didn't harm her. It's like, well, then why did they show up with masks? What, they had to do something, rob you, God forbid, something worse, sexually, something like that. But they, the story didn't really come out until today, where the allegation is up to $10 million was stolen from the TV star. And now she's been flown back to the United States, and there's been uproar. Why didn't she have security? I mean, even somebody like Kim K, who's worth hundreds of millions of dollars with elitist security teams, couldn't prevent terrorists from coming into her hotel room. Now, I don't care a whole lot about the Kardashians, but I'm bringing up this story because I think it just highlights how dangerous the Western world is today. Even if you're one of these celebrities, it's just a dangerous, dangerous world. Courtesy of the George Soroses of the world, Hillary Clintons of the world, Angela Merkel's of the world. They continue to promote this mass migration, which results in radical jihadi terrorism. And I don't know specifically if these people had anything to do with links to terrorism or anything like that. But again, these places have just become cesspools. Whether or not it's Paris, other parts of Europe, or the United States, where these tragic events happen time and time again. Kim Kardashian begged for her life after being bound, gagged, and dumped in a bathtub during harrowing armed robbery. So that's a good one with her security. You guys did a great job. Yeah, great job protecting your customer, your client there, as she is bound and gagged in a bathtub as they run away with, close to $10 million worth of jewelry. Also, as mentioned earlier in today's video, broadcasted all over the media today, and the Drudge Report in particular, is the allegation that an African-American dude is Bill Clinton's son. He goes on to say things like on Twitter, and we'll play this clip, "I am real." Let's go to that now.
My name is Danny Williams, and I was giving a little video out for my followers. I want to thank y'all for supporting me and following me, and I am real, and I am Danny Williams. Thank you.
If true, this is absolutely damning information. Danny Williams is his name. He says, "I am Bill Clinton's son. Black Lives Matter, but not to the Clintons. I am real. I want to meet my dad. Set for first TV interview." This is actually breaking. I didn't see this earlier, just about an hour ago. Quote, "There was no DNA test." Well, Danny, you seem real. And if true, this would only link another whore to Bill Clinton, a cokehead prostitute who, according to Roger Stone, knows that Bill Clinton is the father because she didn't have any other sexual relations. I did not have sexual relations with that woman, Monica Lewinsky, any other Caucasian men at the time, which she says bore her son, Danny Williams, who's now all over the press and set for his first TV interview, who says, "I am real." He just wants to know his father, Bill. Again, Bill and Hillary, Black Lives Matter. And more importantly, you see how Hillary is a part of all these cover-ups, whether or not it's the countless other women we reported on Friday, that it's probably too controversial for most people to watch. 16, 17 women that have accused Bill of sexual assault, of being a predator, of rape, the women breaking down that he forced himself on. Well, here is just another crackhead hooker, cocaine addict. Maybe Bill was snorting cocaine himself with her, off her tits or something like that. Allegedly, this is his son. It looks like him a bit, actually. Front page and center on the Drudge Report. Maybe Julian Assange is going to confirm this. If true, this is damning. I'd like to go to a short clip on Hillary Clinton and Bill's mixed-race son, an interview that was aired not too long ago on the Alex Jones channel with Roger Stone. Take a look at this.
The most egregious thing to me here is the fact that the mainstream media lets Hillary run around saying Black Lives Matter, but they don't address the question of Bill's abandoned, rejected, mixed-race son, Danny Williams. Danny Williams is a fine young man, Alex. He's 30 years old. He's a churchgoer. He's built a small business, put himself through college, but he is the son of Bill Clinton. His mother was Bobby Ann Williams, a cocaine-addicted prostitute that Bill hired on several occasions to pleasure him. We know for a fact that Danny is Bill's son because Bobby Ann tells us she had not been with any other Caucasian gentleman. In 1999, the Star, owned by Robert Altman, a Bush crony, friend of Bill, college classmate of Bill in Georgetown, Undersecretary of the Treasury, a guy who's given over $500,000 to the various Clinton political and financial escapades. He owns the Star. They write that they have a DNA test that absolves Bill. Alex, I went to the current owners of the Star. They were gracious in opening their files. There is no DNA test. Danny Williams is Bill's son, banished by Hillary. It's Hillary who told his mother and his aunt that they'd be arrested if they came around. It's Hillary who puts a private detective on silencing the rumors about Bill's illegitimate son. It's time for the Clintons to do the right thing. Acknowledge, love, cherish, nurture your son. Don't lecture us about it takes a village to raise a child. Hillary, don't tell us about our babies. Do the right thing by this upstanding young man. Danny Williams doesn't do drugs. He doesn't drink. He's got to put food on the table. Bill Clinton is worth, Alex, $100 million plus. So I think African-American voters are going to go to Trump in droves when they learn about the Clintons' abuse of their black son and the abuse of women.
Visit our sponsor, Bonner and Partners, right now at cashcutoff.com. That's cashcutoff.com. Bill Bonner's research network predicted the fall of the Soviet Union, the rise of Muslim terrorism, the Japanese crash, and the financial meltdown of 2008. Now his firm Bonner and Partners has published a more dire warning. What happens in the event your ATM doesn't work, your credit card is denied? What if you can't sell your investments? Although this might sound implausible to some, it's a very real possibility. A run on cash. Think about it. How do you pay for goods and services if credit doesn't work? Who among you, your friends and family, actually have more than a few dollars in their pocket? Claim your full intelligence file right away. Get 4 research reports, plus the free book, Hormageddon, and a 12-month all-access pass to the Bill Bonner letter for just $49. It's risk-free for 60 days. Get the Great American Credit Collapse, the Crisis Money Guide, how to get your own homestead on the cheap, and much more. Click the link below right now to register at cashcutoff.com. Again, folks, Black Lives Matter. I want you to hear it again. Black Lives Matter. And certainly, if Danny Williams has a claim, we need to listen. To not listen would be racist of Americans, especially if you're on the radical left, because Danny Williams, he says that Bill Clinton is his father, that his cocaine-snorting prostitute whore of a mother had sexual relations with Bill and bore him, a stand-up citizen. Doesn't drink, he doesn't do drugs, he's doing things to support himself and his family. If Black Lives Matter, why won't Hillary Clinton welcome Danny with open arms into her wonderful family that makes up Chelsea and the rest of the gang of criminals? DNA test, according to Roger Stone, does not disprove the allegation that Danny Williams is his son. And in fact, Danny is on Facebook saying just that. Black Lives Matter, Hillary. Let's go to that clip.
Black Lives Matter unless you are Danny Williams, the 30-year-old abandoned African-American son of Bill Clinton, banished by Hillary.
Black Lives Matter.
Again, folks, Black lives do matter. And to not take Danny Williams seriously would be racist, especially if you're on the radical left. So the mainstream media needs to talk about this, especially Don Lemon, because he's also black, and Black Lives Matter. So this should be front page headline news tonight. I expect to see it. Wolfie Blitzer with a sexy beard, Anderson Cooper, Megan Smelly should all be talking about this at length, ad nauseum. Clinton News Network, Faux News, MSNBC should all talk about this at length. Is this man Bill Clinton's love child? Prostitute's son says ex-president is his father and claims Hillary banished him. Danny Williams, 30 years old, claims he is the biological son of former President Bill Clinton. Rumors about Danny's paternity surfaced not long after his birth in 1985, when Clinton was still governor of Arkansas. Not that Clinton's wonderful people, by the way. If true, this is extremely damning. Danny's mother, Bobby Ann Williams, who was a prostitute, said, the oldest profession in the book, by the way, says she is, that's probably how Bill would spin it, she is certain Clinton is the father since he was her only white client at the time. In December, Danny set up a new Facebook page reiterating his claim that he is Clinton's son. Black Lives Matter. The page also includes claims that Hillary banished him, and the Clinton campaign refused to comment on the claims. You can scroll through some pictures here. It shows pictures of Bill and Danny. There's actually a really interesting picture here of Danny's mother, Bobby Ann Williams. It says Bill Clinton paid her for sex on several occasions in 1984, around the time she became pregnant. When she gave birth to her son, she says she knew it was Bill's because of her son's light skin tone. Bobby claims Clinton was the only white client she had at the time. Now, the radical left's going to be like, oh, it's discredited. Oh, they're just trying to discredit my savior that makes up Bill and Hillary. They're such wonderful people, and Hillary, she's such a good feminist, even though she covers up the allegations of sexual assault and rape. All these things that we know about factually. And if this is true, just another one to compound the hardcore evidence that these people are just POSs. POSs. He goes on, Danny Williams on his Twitter account says, I want to thank one of my supporters for asking at Bill Clinton if he had any comments about me being his son. There's this little short video where somebody at one of these recent events asked Bill about Danny Williams would respond. There's like some feminist out there like, oh, we don't need this right now. Like, don't discredit this event. We don't need real questions right now. Why not? Danny Williams goes on to thank everyone for supporting me. Hashtag Clinton kid. Is this man Bill Clinton's love child? Did Bill Clinton have another affair of the dozens? Only the ones that we know about, by the way. There's been, I'm sure, hundreds and hundreds of women. Hundreds and hundreds of encounters of sexual assault, rape, etc. God knows. Is this just another one to tally to the list? A whore, a prostitute, who likes to snort coke in Pleasure Bill. Again, Hillary, at Black Lives Matter, open your arms wide and welcome Danny to your wonderful family-valued family. Again, not only do Black Lives Matter, but family values also matter to the Clintons. An absolute bombshell story. Is all this depressing today? Is it depressing? Does it make you anxious? You know, this historical election, which even looking at the polls, both candidates, according to the mainstream media, both candidates are not popular. In fact, there was an article today that says, you know what, you need to stop reading the news, tuning into the Clinton News Network, etc., and just get into, what was it, dogward down pose or something if you do yoga, to de-stress. Maybe try a little acupuncture or something, like that, or, you know, just mentally decompress yourself from this very, very stressful election. From Reuters, they say, stop reading the newspaper and take up yoga. That's what some therapists are recommending in the United States, who are meeting more and more people that are so stressed out, even losing friendships over this presidential race in November. You know, reading stories about the next Julian Assange bombshell, or Bill's sexual liaisons, allegedly with a hooker who liked to do coke, and a boy, now 30, named Danny Williams. Why isn't this mainstream news, folks? Why aren't more people talking about this? In fact, if we don't see it on the Clinton News Network tonight, Faux News, MSNBC, then I would only suggest that that tells us that there is truth to this, that they must be hiding, once again, something else. Again, major news. We will be headed out, AMTV and our crew, to Prescott Valley tomorrow. We'll be there early morning. We just got confirmation of press passes. I'm hoping to get close to Donald Trump. We've reached out to his people asking for an interview. I don't know if that's going to happen or not, but we're certainly hoping that we can interview the candidate himself, ask some difficult questions of him. And I would like to hear from you. And thanks again for your tremendous support. All of you that are subscribing, that support us on demand, the price of a cup of coffee, $4.95 a month, $49.95 a year. It truly does support us directly. Alternatively, I would like to hear from you, and subscribe right now. All of our content will be hitting there first tomorrow. Commercial and ad-free, by the way. Uncensored, uncut, unfiltered, the real hard-hitting truth. I'd like to hear from you. What questions, put it in the comment question box below, would you like to see tomorrow as we cover the event? I'm sure we'll be interviewing people on the ground. Security's very tight, so we're going to be kind of, you know, in a corner probably most of the day at the event. What questions would you like to hear? Wraps up today's show. I'm Christopher Green. You're watching AMTV, Alternative Media Television, hard-hitting it in your face. Stay tuned tomorrow. Also, if you're not already, follow me on Snapchat at AMTV Media. I'm doing a lot of content